This is the composition that I've got set up. Essentially, I've just put the stone circle right in the middle of the frame. I think I'm resting it along the bottom third. Not a lot of foreground to play with. When the sun hits it from the side, it lights up these furrows, but not much of that going on today. Behind the stone circle, you've got Low Rig, which is the mountains to the left-hand side. And this shot really today is all about the sky. So we've got quite a good sky, and I quite like these conditions. Now, in order to get the definition from the sky, I have put on a 3-stop soft edge grad, just to balance the exposure a little bit. Castlerigg is surprisingly quiet this morning. So I'm taking the opportunity to have a little wander around, look at other compositions. So this is Skiddaw, and then we've got Castlerigg on the left-hand side. So on an occasion when Skiddaw is not covered in cloud, I think that might be a potential composition. But I still think, as a stock, normal, general, bog standard shot, the shot that I like the most is looking back the other direction towards Low Rig. Now you see, I'm not sure now because I think I like this composition as well. This is Blencathra, another one of the prominent mountains in the Northern Lakes. And I actually think here that a tighter composition, not showing the whole of the stone circle, but including just these prominent larger stones here, would make a good composition. I think Blencathra is a difficult mountain to photograph. Even better, potentially. So now we're looking towards Clough Head, and we've got Low Rig here, and this has even more potential. Perhaps a better shot for the summer, when the sun will be rising further north, and we might get some golden light across these hills. That might be an absolute cracker. But today I'm going to do something that I don't often do. I'm going to move my camera and I'm going to take this shot here across towards Low Rig. I'm not going to include all of the stone circle, so I'm going to have some of the stones. I'm going to probably try and get this right hand arc and then on to Low Rig in the distance. Now then, what do we think to that shot? So, I set the camera up and I am looking out towards Low Rig, and I'm using some of the stones in front. Not all of them. It took me a while to get my composition. I had to, kind of fine tweak it. I didn't want to cut off a stone if I could avoid it at all, so that I had a stone going out of the frame. So it took me a little while to do that. Now I am at 70mm, and what that is doing is that is compressing the image. So this is a really good example of what we mean when we talk about compressing perspective. So what that has done is that has kept the stones relatively large in the foreground and pulled the mountains in the background towards us, compressing the perspective. What happens if you use a wide angle lens is it allows you to get a lot closer to your subjects or whatever's in your foreground. But when you open that right up, when you go sort of from 24mm and above, it pushes what's in the background away from the camera. And that's why I don't use wide angle lenses very often. Because when you're shooting in an area like the Lake District with so many mountains, often the subject or the interest is further away from the camera. And one of the things I think you see a lot of with photographers that shoot around here is images that to me look like a picture of a rock with a prominent mountain a long way off in the distance. And that's not really my style, that's not what I like in a photo. So this is, I think this is a great technique, and you know, to try and compress the image and bring more elements in. This is by far a more complex composition than I would normally go for. This isn't really my style at all. So let me think what you think of this image. Anyway, that's it for me for this week. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next week.